The 16th of July, 1900, Volume 3. Chastisements serve the good of creatures. This morning, my adorable Jesus was not coming. After much waiting, he came and told me, "My daughter, the best thing for you is to commend yourself to me and to my will, so that by commending yourself to me, since I am peace, even if you saw me send chastisements, you would remain at peace without feeling any disturbance." And I, Lord, you always get there to chastisements. Placate yourself once and for all, and no more scourges. Besides, I cannot commend myself to your will in this regard. And he added, "I cannot placate myself. What would you say if you saw someone naked who, instead of covering his nakedness, paid attention to adorning himself with trinkets, leaving the parts most necessary exposed to nakedness?" And I would be horrified at seeing him, and I would certainly blame him. And he, "Well then, such are souls, completely naked. They have no more virtues to cover them. Therefore it is necessary that I beat them, scourge them, deprive them, so as to make them come back to their senses and realize the nakedness of their souls. For this is more necessary than the body. And if I did not do this, I would be paying attention to trinkets, like the person you blamed, which are the things that refer to the body. And I would not be paying attention to the most essential thing, the soul, which they have reduced to being so monstrous as to no longer be recognizable." After this, it seemed he had a little rope in his hand, and passing it behind my neck, he bound me, and then bound his neck to that same rope. He did the same to the heart and the hands, and by this he seemed to bind me completely to his will. Having done this, he disappeared. End of the reading. The 16th of July, 1901, Volume 4, The Beginning of Evil in Man, Distance between the love of Jesus and the human love. In order to enter into heaven, the soul must be completely transformed in Jesus. After various days of privation, this morning he deigned to come, transporting me outside of myself. Now, as I was before Blessed Jesus, I could see many people and the evil of the present generation. My adorable Jesus looked at them with compassion and, turning to me, told me, "My daughter, do you want to know where the evil of man began? The beginning of it, that as soon as he knows himself, that is, as soon as he begins to acquire reason, man says to himself, 'I am something.' And believing themselves to be something, they move away from me. They do not trust me, who am the all, and they draw all their confidence and strength from themselves. From this it happens that they even lose every good beginning, and by losing the good beginning, what will the end be? Imagine yourself, my daughter. Moreover, by moving away from me who contain every good, what good can man hope for, since he is a sea of evil? Without me, everything is corruption, misery, and without a shadow of true good. This is the present society." On hearing this, I felt such affliction that I am unable to express it. But Jesus, wanting to cheer me, transported me somewhere else, and as I found myself alone with my beloved Jesus, I said to him, "Tell me, do you love me?" And he, "Yes." And I am not content with yes alone, but I would like it to be explained better how much you love me." And he, "My love for you is so great that not only has it no beginning, but it will have no end. In these few words you can comprehend how great, strong, constant is my love for you." I considered all this for a little, and I could see an abyss of distance between my love and his. All confused, I said, "Lord, what a difference between my love and yours. Not only does mine have a beginning, but as for the past, I see that some voids in my soul of not having loved you." And Jesus, all compassion for me, told me, My beloved, there cannot be conformity between the love of the Creator and that of the creature. However, today I want to tell you something which will be of great consolation for you and which you have never understood. Know that each soul, during the whole course of her life, is obliged to love me constantly with no interval. And if she does not love me always, she leaves as many voids in her soul for as many days, hours, or minutes in which she has neglected to love me. But no one will be able to enter into heaven if he has not filled these voids, and one will only be able to fill them by loving me twice as much for the rest of his life. And if he does not arrive at doing this, he will fill them by dint of fire in purgatory. Now, when you are deprived of me, the privation of the beloved makes love double, and by this you come to fill the voids that are present in your soul. After this I said to him, my sweet good, let me come with you to heaven, and if you do not want it forever, at least for a little while, please, I pray you, make me content. And he told me, don't you know that in order to enter that blessed dwelling, the soul must be completely transformed in me, in such a way that she must appear as another Christ. Otherwise, what impression would you make in the midst of the other blessed? You yourself would be ashamed of being with them. And I, it is true that I am very dissimilar to you, but if you want, you can render me similar. So, to content me, he enclosed me completely within himself, in such a way that I could no longer see myself but Jesus Christ. And in this way, we rose toward heaven. As we reached a certain point, we found ourselves before an indescribable light. Before that light, one experienced new life, unusual joy, never felt before. How happy I felt! Even more, it seemed to me that I was in the fullness of all happinesses. Now, as we advanced before that light, I felt such concern. I would have liked to praise him, to thank him, but not knowing what to say, I recited 3 glory bees, and Jesus responded along. But as soon as I finished, like a flash, I found myself in the miserable prison of my body. Ah, Lord, how come? So little has my happiness lasted. It seems that the clay of this body of mine is too hard, as it takes so much to be shattered, and it prevents my soul from moving out of this miserable earth. But I hope that some vehement blow may cause it to be not only shattered but pulverized. Then, since I would no longer have a home to be able to stay here, you would have compassion for me and will receive me forever in the celestial dwelling. End of the reading. The 16th of July, 1918, Volume 12. One who wants to do good to all must live in the will of God. This morning, my sweet Jesus came and told me, my daughter, do not remain in yourself, in your will, but enter into me and into my will. I am immense, and only one who is immense can multiply acts as many times as he wants. One who is up high can give light to the bottom. Don't you see the sun? Because it is up there, it has light for every eye. Even more, each man can have the sun at his disposal, as if it were fully his own. On the other hand, the plants, the trees, the rivers, the seas, which are down below, are not at everyone's disposal. One cannot say of these things as he could of the sun, if I want, I make it all mine, even though others can still enjoy it. On the other hand, all the low things receive benefit from the sun. Some receive light, some heat, some fecundity, some colour. Now I am the eternal light. I am in the highest point, and as much higher as I am, so much more do I find myself everywhere and deeper down. Therefore I am life of all, and as if I were only for each one. So if you want to do good to all, enter into my immensity, live up high, detached from everything, and also from yourself. Otherwise, there will be earth around you, and you could be a plant, a tree, but never a son. Instead of giving, you will have to receive, and the good you will do will be so limited as to be innumerable. End of the reading. The 16th of July, 1922, Volume 14. In order to reign, the sanctity of living in the divine will must be known. Since the confessor had told me that I had to let copying be done from my writings of that which blessed Jesus made me write on the different virtues, I felt a pain in me, a martyrdom, in letting what Jesus had told me come about. So, as blessed Jesus came, I said to him, "My love, only for me these martyrdoms, that I myself have to be the instrument for putting out what you manifested to me. More so, since in having to put out what you told me, I am forced in certain things to put out also myself. My Jesus, what martyrdom! Yet although with highest torture for my soul, I am forced to obey. Give me strength, help me. This was only for me. You have said so many things to others and given many graces to them, but no one has known anything, and if something has become known after their death, the rest remained all buried with them. I alone had to get this martyrdom." And Jesus, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, courage. Do not lose heart too much. I will be with you also in this. Before my will, yours must disappear, and then it is the sanctity of my will that wants to be known. Here is the reason. The sanctity of living in my will has no path, nor doors, nor keys, nor rooms. It invades everything. It is like the air that one breathes. Everyone must and can breathe it. By just wanting it and putting the human will aside, the divine volition will let itself be breathed by the soul and will give her the life, the effects, the value of the life of my volition. But if it is not known, how can they love and want a living so holy in the greatest glory that the creature can give me? The sanctity of other virtues is enough known in the whole church, and whoever wants it can copy it. This is why I was not concerned with multiplying that same knowledge, but the sanctity of living in my will, the effects and the value it contains, the finishing touch which my creative hand will give to the creature in order to make her similar to me, is not yet known. This is the reason for all my haste, so that what I told you be manifested, and if you did not do so, you would constrain my will, imprison within me the flames which devour me, and make me delay the complete glory that creation owes me. However, I want things to come out orderly, because one missing word, one broken nexus, connection or sentence, instead of shedding light, would cast darkness about me, and instead of making creatures give me glory and love, would make them remain indifferent. Therefore, be attentive. I want what I have said to come out whole, and I. But in order to put your part entirely, I'm forced to put part of mine. And Jesus. And what do you mean by this? If we have made the way together, do you want me to come out into the field alone? And then, whom should I point out and place as example to be imitated, if the one whom I instructed and who has the practice of the way to live in my will does not want to be known? My daughter, this is absurd. Ah, Jesus, in what a maze you throw me. I feel I am dying. I hope that your fiat will give me the strength. Therefore, remove your will, and my fiat will do everything." End of the reading. The 16th of July, 1924, Volume 17, How the Creator Goes in Search of the Creature in order to place his goods in her. Continuing in my usual state, my adorable Jesus transported me outside of myself and told me, "My daughter, the Creator goes in search of the creature in order to place on her lap the goods which he delivered in creation, and therefore, in all centuries, he always disposes that there be souls who go in search of him alone, so that he may place his goods in those who search for him and want to receive his gifts. So the Creator moves from heaven and the creature moves from the earth in order to meet each other, one to give, the other to receive. I feel all the necessity to give, to prepare goods in order to give them and to have no one to whom to give them. Keeping them inactive because of lack of correspondence on the part of those who do not care about receiving them is always a great pain. Do you know where I can place the goods which came from me in creation? In one who makes my will her own, because it gives the capacity, the appreciation, and the true dispositions in order to receive the goods of her Creator, and administers to her the return, the gratitude, the thanksgiving, and the love which the soul is obliged to give for the gifts which, with so much goodness, she has received. Therefore, come with me, and let us go around together throughout the earth and the heavens, that I may place in you the love which I delivered from me for love of the creatures in all created things, and so that you may give me the return. And together with me, love everyone with my love, and we will give love to all. We will be two in loving everyone. I will no longer be alone. So we wandered everywhere, and Jesus placed in me his love, which the created things contained. And echoing his love, I repeated with him the I love you on the part of all creatures. Then he added, my daughter, in creating man, I infused the soul in him with my breath, wanting to infuse in him the most intimate part of our interior, our will, which brought to him altogether all the particles of our divinity, which man as creature could contain, to the extent of making of him our image. But man, ungrateful, wanted to break the union with our will. And even though he kept the soul, the human will which took the place of the divine, obscured him, infected him, and rendered inactive all the divine particles, to the extent of dishonoring him completely and of disguising him. Now, since I want to dispose him again to receive this will of mine, it is necessary that I breathe on him again, so that my breath may put to flight darkness and infections, and may render active the infusion of our will, which we made in creating him. Oh, how I wish to see him beautiful, restored, just as I created him, and my will alone can work this great prodigy. This is why I want to breathe on you, so that you may receive this great good, that my will reign in you and give you back all the goods and the rights which it gave man in his creation. And as he was saying this, coming near me, he breathed on me. He looked at me. He squeezed me to himself, and then he disappeared. End of the reading. The 16th of July, 1927, volume 22. How one who lives in the divine will possesses perfect balance. How the prayer done in it possesses the divine power and universal strength. I continue to live all abandoned in the divine fiat, following its innumerable acts. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, one who lives in my will has the wideness, the capacity to be able to enclose all the acts of God within herself, and therefore becoming the depository of the divine will. And because of this, God finds in that soul the whole of himself with all his acts. Therefore, everything is sacred in her. Everything is holy. Everything is light and beauty. She possesses perfect balance, divine order, and I find in her the glory of my sanctity, of my light, of my rare beauty. I look at her and I find my reflections, my dearest image created by me, as wanted by me. And in the excess of my love, I keep repeating, how beautiful you are. My will has enclosed everything in you. The creation is a pale image of you. You are more effulgent than the sun. You are more adorned than the heavens. You are more graceful than the flowery fields. You are all beautiful because the power of my divine volition invests you, nourishes you, is your life. Then pausing, he added, my daughter, when the soul prays in my will, all things and all created beings stand at attention, suspend all things, make everything silent. And while they are all intent on admiring the act done in the divine will, altogether they follow the prayer. The power of it calls and imposes itself on everything in such a way that all do the same thing. If all other prayers were united together in order to compare them with a simple prayer done in my will, this one surpasses them all because it possesses a divine will, an immense power, an incalculable value. I myself feel invested by such a prayer, and as I see that it is my will that prays, I feel its power that identifies me with that very prayer. So, if graces are not obtained by means of the prayer done in my will, which is universal and divine prayer, if divine justice is not placated and scourges continue to pour upon the earth, it means that that is the will of God, and that instead of making those graces descend, it makes the effects of it descend into souls. And if one does not obtain much with it, much less will be obtained by other prayers not done in my will that contain neither divine power nor universal strength. Then after this, my lovable Jesus came out of my interior, and investing the whole of me, he filled me all with himself in such a way that I felt I was all surrounded by Jesus and inside of him. Then in withdrawing, he threw himself into my arms, leaning his head upon my breast to take rest. And as he was doing this, all created things, the sun, the heavens, the stars, the wind, the sea, the earth, in sum, everything, lined up around Jesus, and laying themselves like a bed under the members of Jesus, they all offered themselves to give him rest. And my sweet Jesus told me, my daughter, if you knew all my crafting that I'm doing in the interior of your soul, how I watch over each heartbeat of yours, all your affections, your words, your thoughts, in sum everything, so as to let my divine will flow within the whole of you, that it may dominate and form its kingdom, so much so that after the work I do, very often I take rest in order to enjoy in you the fruit of the rest that only my will can give me. How beautiful is the rest it gives me. All our works, the things created by us, compete among themselves to give me rest. And I feel in you the happiness of my eternal rest and the joy and the happiness of our works. So, my work in the kingdom of my will is safe. My rest is not disturbed by the noises of the human will. Behold, then, the living in my will is the true transmission of the divine life to the creature. End of the reading. The 16th of July, 1930, volume 28. The Divine Will, Life. Love, Nourishment. The 16th of July, 1930, volume 28. The Divine Will, Life. Love, Nourishment. How one act alone does not form life nor complete act. Necessity of the repetition of the acts in order to form the life of the divine will. My abandonment in the divine fiat continues. Oh, yes, I feel it, like air letting itself be breathed by my poor soul. I feel its most pure light that keeps repressed the darkness of the night of my human will, such that as it is about to rise to put itself in the field of action, the light of the divine will sweetly ruling over mine not only represses the darkness so as not to give it life, but powerfully calls me and draws me to follow its acts. So while following its divine acts, I could touch with my own hand how much it loves us, because in each of its acts, seeds of love come out for the creatures. Am I always lovable, Jesus, showing his heart invested by ardent flames of love for the creatures? Told me, my daughter, my love toward creatures is so great that it does not cease to love them for one single instant. If I ceased to love them for one instant alone, the whole machine of the universe and all creatures would resolve into nothing, because the existence of all things had the first act of life from my love, whole, full, complete, interminable, and incessant. And so that my love might have all its fullness, I release from myself as act of life of the whole universe and of each act of creature, my divine will. So my will is life of everything. My love is continuous nourishment of all creation. Life without nourishment cannot live. Nourishment, if it does not find the life, has no one to whom to give itself, nor anyone to nourish. So the whole substance of all creation is my will as life and my love as nourishment. All other things are superficial and as ornament. Therefore heaven and earth are full of my love and of my will. There is not one point in which, like mighty wind, they do not pour themselves toward the creatures, and this always, always, without ever ceasing. It is always in the act of pouring upon creatures, so much so that if the creature thinks, my divine will makes itself life of her intelligence, and my love, by nourishing it, unfolds it. If she looks, it makes itself life of her eye, and my love nourishes the light of her seeing. If she speaks, if she palpitates, if she operates, if she walks, my will makes itself life of the voice, my love nourishment of the word. My divine will makes itself life of the heart, my love nourishment of the heartbeat. In sum, there is not one thing that the creature might do in which my will does not run as life and my love as nourishment. But what is not our sorrow in seeing that the creature does not recognize who it is that forms her life and who nourishes all her acts? After this, I continued my acts in the divine volition, and in my mind I was thinking to myself, what glory do I give to my God, and what good comes to me by repeating always the same acts? And my sweet Jesus told me, my daughter, one act alone does not form life nor complete works in the creatures. The very divinity in creation wanted to act as repeater for as many as 6 times to form the whole machine of the universe. We could have made all created things with one single fiat, but no, we were pleased with repeating it, to take pleasure in seeing coming out of us with our creative strength, now the azure heavens, now the sun, and so with all other things created by us. And the last fiat was repeated over man as the fulfillment of the whole work of creation. And even though our fiat added no other fiat to create other things, yet it always acts as repeater in order to maintain and preserve, as though in its breath of the fiat, all things in act, as if there and then it had created them. And oh, how necessary is repetition. By repeating, love grows, enjoyment is redoubled, one appreciates more what is repeated, and one feels the life of the act that is repeated. Now, by continuing your acts in my divine will, you come to form the life of my divine will in you. By repeating them, you raise it and nourish it. Do you think that by repeating them a few times, you could have formed its life in you? No, my daughter. At the most, you could have felt its balsamic air, its strength, its light, but could not have formed its life. It takes the acts that never cease, to be able to say, I possess the life of the fiat? Does the same perhaps not happen to the natural life? One does not give it food or water only once and puts it aside without giving it anything anymore. But each day, if one wants to preserve life, it is necessary to nourish it. Otherwise, of its own, it dies down. Therefore, continue your acts in my fiat, if you do not want its life to die down and not have its fulfillment in you. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.